Thanks for the upgrade. Nathan kicked the door shut and flipped his sunglasses onto the coffee table. The frames clicked, spun, then settled. He stood there like a billboard for himself. Tailored suit, mirror-bright watch, shoes dusted with airport sheen. 2 glossy suitcases leaned against the sofa, bands of logos stacked like trophies. Elena didn't flinch. She lifted her gaze from the counter, folded her arms, and let a laugh escape. Small, clean, impossible to read. First class to Paris. Sweets, champagne, the works, he said, loosening his tie with a practiced tug. He draped the jacket over a chair and strutted to the bar cart. Ice chimed. A cork sighed. He poured until the glass grew cold in his fingers. Big week, he added, grin wide enough to show teeth. The apartment held its breath. Evening light slid across the marble, catching the watch, the zipper teeth, the edge of an embossed tag. Elena crossed to the sink, rinsed a cup, and set it down, mouth side up. Her phone flashed once on the counter. She tapped the screen, let it darken, and turned back, expression steady. Nathan raised his glass toward his reflection in the television. To us, he said. To finally living a little. Elena's smile thinned, then settled. You really think so? He didn't hear the warning in it. He didn't look for one. He just drank, satisfied. The glasses gleamed. The luggage waited. If you love reversals like this, subscribe now so you won't miss what comes next. The laugh from part 1 lingered like a thin line of light on the counter. Then the frame rewound a few weeks, and the picture sharpened. Receipts began appearing where they hadn't before. Crumpled slips tucked in Nathan's jacket. A boutique logo here. A jeweler's stamp there. Elena photographed each one and slid them into a manila folder. He started coming home later. Phone face down. Alerts silenced. His smile larger. His answers smaller. On Friday, a courier left a long, narrow box wrapped in black ribbon. He cut it open with a room key and grinned at the gleam. Elena noted the time on a sticky note and set it beside the ribbon. At a cafe off 4th, Lauren watched Nathan cross the street in a suit too proud for noon. He's performing, she said, barely above the hum of the espresso machine. Like a man auditioning for a life he hasn't paid for. Elena stirred her coffee twice and placed the spoon parallel to the saucer. The hallway hinge squeaked at 2 a.m. Blue glow slid under the office door. A chair creaked. Keys ticked. A phone camera clicked with the faintest shudder. Nathan rose, stretching his shoulders as if he owned the room. Elena adjusted the thermostat by 1 degree and watched the vent flap settle. Morning stacked itself in alerts. A watch boutique in Paris. A designer store in Milan. A first-class upgrade pushed at dawn. A suite deposit held at a 5-star hotel. She did not narrate any of it aloud. She opened notes, time-stamped the charges, and clipped the screen with a knuckle tap. He smelled different these days. Citrus high, vetiver low, something sharp tucked beneath. New luggage scuffed the baseboard. New passport cover flashed at the door. He laughed louder with the driver downstairs, then avoided eye contact in the elevator up. At the valet stand, a kid mentioned champagne towers and a flight that left before sunrise. At the rooftop bar, a bartender recalled a generous tip from a man who said, "Tomorrow Paris, then everywhere." They didn't know Elena. They didn't need to. Their casual details fit like puzzle edges. Back in the apartment, Elena packed a small tray with tidy things, a labeled envelope for receipts, a slim USB drive, a fresh notebook. She locked her laptop, slid the key on a ring by the sink, and checked the kitchen clock. Nathan's gestures grew broader as the charges grew larger. He practiced stories in the mirror, sanding off the rough parts. He held his phone like a prop, thumb hovering over a screen full of unreadables. When Elena looked up, he looked away. One more alert lit the counter. Jewelry now. She watched it fade, then closed the folder with a flat palm. The image from part 1 re-entered the frame. The suitcases. The watch. The boast. The laugh she chose instead of anger. By then, the outline was complete. All it needed was the first move. The folder from part 2 rested on the counter, spine square to the edge. Elena sealed the flap, checked the clock, and let the new alert fade off the phone screen. She carried the folder to the small conference room. Chloe stood, shook her hand, and slid a legal pad forward. Receipts, timestamps, screenshots, a simple ledger with dates in a single column. Chloe uncapped a highlighter, 1 mark for each charge, 2 for travel. She clipped the stack and tapped the corner to sign. They reviewed rules, where recording was lawful, what to capture, how to store, chain first, story later. Chloe bagged a duplicate set and wrote the time on the seal. "Counsel copy," she said, pen pressing hard through the tag. Back home, Elena opened her laptop. 2-factor prompts rolled across the screen. She rotated passwords, revoked shared access, and paused every card except one. The training card stayed alive, quiet as bait. She ran a tiny test charge to confirm the flag, then archived the alert. She set out a kit, a backup phone with a voice recorder primed, a USB drive with hardware encryption, 2 envelopes, already stamped and addressed, a spiral notebook with a ruled index and tabs, notes mirrored to cloud storage with access locked. She printed copies with visible timestamps, signed across the seams, dated each flap. 1 envelope slid into a wall safe, the other went into her bag for delivery to Chloe's office first thing. She walked the apartment with the precision of an auditor. Mic range checked at the bar cart. Camera angle tested toward the couch and the television screen. Clocks synced with the time server. A small dot sticker hid on the suitcase handle, another on the desk drawer, a third under the coffee table lip. She staged the room as if nothing had changed. Glasses on the tray. A folded throw on the sofa arm, bar cart stocked. She placed the backup phone beneath the TV, screen dark, trigger phrase armed. Another recorder tucked behind the book spines on the console. She read the meters, then muted them to wait. A calendar block appeared on Nathan's shared view. Home, 7 p.m. Lauren's name popped into a coffee note for Thursday, 8 a.m., witnesses without the word, just time and place. Elena replied with a thumbs-up emoji, then turned the phone face down again. At dusk, she briefed Keller by phone, a short summary. No emotion, only entries. He confirmed the file number and asked her to hold pattern until the subject returned. She read the number back. He repeated it once more, slow and clear. Night settled. Elena walked one last loop, checklist in hand, power adapters set, batteries full, document bag at the door. The kitchen light clicked off. The recorder icons glowed for a breath, then vanished. The room held its ordinary shape. On the counter, the folder waited for morning. On the shelf, the glassware shone. Everything was ready for the first move. The apartment held its breath the way it had at the end of Part 3, lights low, recorders armed, glassware waiting on the tray. Then the deadbolt turned. Nathan rolled the suitcase through the doorway, perfume and jet fuel trailing behind him. The wheels hummed across the hardwood. His watch flashed a silver crescent on the black TV screen. He smiled at his reflection and let the handle fall. Elena stepped from the hall, neutral as a mirror. She set a clean tumbler on a square napkin. "Long flight?" "Not long enough," he said, shoulders loose, jaw bright with confidence. The red dot of the camera sat quiet above the console. A second phone slept under the television shelf, listening for its phrase. Elena kept her hands visible, as she had rehearsed it. No rush, no chase, just room for him to speak. "Paris is different when you do it right," Nathan said, drifting to the bar cart. Ice cracked like slate. Cognac lifted an edge into the air. He set a gold shopping bag on the sofa and flicked its ribbon. "Tell me," Elena said, softly. "Milan first," he answered. "Then Paris, sweet at the Étoile. Driver on call. You'd have loved the view." He popped the latches on the second case, boxes stacked like pastry, a watch case, 2 velvet pouches, receipts curled in a folio he could not resist opening. He slid one onto the table without looking. Elena moved it into a labeled envelope and smoothed the flap. "Which card did you use?" she asked, as if asking about water or wine. He grinned. "Your work one. The one on your laptop. You know, the ghost card you never carry." He mimed a camera with 2 fingers. "Numbers, pics, done. his laugh careless. The recorder caught the rhythm: ice, ribbon, zipper, boast. On screen, his shoulders rose and fell as he paced through a story. "Upgrade at the gate," he said. "First class, worth every click." Steam fogged the bathroom while he showered. Elena lifted the folio, photographed the receipts, and left them where he'd dropped them. 2 messages left her phone in a clean line. He's back to Chloe. Proceed to Keller. The audio file slid into the evidence folder and climbed to the cloud. Nathan returned in a fresh shirt, hair damp, grin reset. "Paris or Milan?" Elena asked. "For watches, Paris," he said, tapping the glass face with a knuckle. "For shoes, Milan." He named the boutique, the street, the hour, the clerk who offered the private lounge. He recited totals like punchlines. The camera gathered them all. Elena nodded in the right places. She poured water and refilled ice. When he gestured, she let the velvet pouches fall open so the lens could see. She checked the timer on the console and laid her palm on the counter, steady and flat. "Toast," he said, raising the cognac. "To us finally doing life properly." She touched her glass to his. A bright ring sounded in the quiet room. "Properly," she said. His phone lit with a burst of comments under a new post. A rooftop, a flute, a blurred city line. Friends cheered. A cousin asked when he was taking the family to Paris. Nathan chuckled, thumb hovering. Elena's screen pulsed once. Upload complete. She set the phone face down and reached for the switch above the bar. Light folded out of the room until only the TV reflection held their shapes. "Big week," he said, satisfied. "Bigger than you think," she answered, even. Nothing in her posture betrayed that the trapdoor was already closed. Notifications from Part 4 kept chiming, a drip from Nathan's rooftop post, flutes, skyline, a grin turned toward success. His thumbs hovered over hearts and fire icons. The living room stayed dim. Elena set her phone on the counter, screen up, sound low. Comments stacked and scrolled. "King Energy," a college friend wrote. "Take me next time," added someone, tagging a boutique. The valet from the hotel replied, "Epic night, man," and dropped the location pin. A family group call lit the screen. Elena tapped speaker and stepped back. Nathan's mother filled the room with practiced concern. "Are you controlling him again?" "He said you agreed to the card," a cousin piled on. Nathan spoke louder than necessary, playing to his audience. "She knew. It's a perk from work." Elena didn't answer. The recorder caught every syllable, every overlap of voices. The group chat exploded on Nathan's phone. GIFs, crowns, clinking glasses. One friend typed, "That card sounds risky?" 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No one touched it again. At the bar's page, a bartender commented, "Private lounge after midnight." A tag linked the boutique by name. Timestamps stitched themselves into a public ledger. Lauren texted from the cafe around the corner. "Don't argue online. Just archive everything." Elena screen captured the comment ladder and sent the bundle to Evidence Social. Saved blinked on cue. Elena's aunt called. "Do you need anything?" "I'm fine," Elena said. "Counsel will handle." No explanation. The call ended. Direct messages arrived like pebbles on glass. "She's overreacting," Nathan wrote to a friend. "We share accounts. She's just tight about money." Elena started a screen recording and let it run while messages stacked. Chloe's text appeared. "Collect public materials only. Don't reply. Forward links to me and Keller." Keller followed with, "Received audio batch. Continue passively." Elena packaged the screenshots to PDF and sent both threads. Under Nathan's post, a relative finally asked, "Did you use her work card?" Nathan answered with a shrug emoji and a joke about upgrades. 2 likes disappeared. A defensive comment vanished. A new ping. Hearing date pending, from Chloe. Social logs received, from Keller. Elena exported the comment list again, the file name ticking forward by 1. She placed the phone face down and straightened the envelope stack on the counter. Across the room, Nathan dialed his brother and paced. "People love it," he said, angling the camera to catch the watch. His brother laughed through speaker. Of course they do. Elena let the call run on background, a steady wash of names, times, and labels. The apartment's lights stayed low. Glasses rested where Part 4 left them. On screen, the rooftop photo threw off its last burst of reactions and began to cool. Elena pressed Save to Evidence one more time. No comment. No correction. Only the soft sound of a folder closing. By then the room was ready for what came next. The public clatter had done its part. The records held. The voices had been gathered, dated, and filed. Morning arrived. The courthouse doors parted. Security trays slid forward. Metal placed, metal returned. Keller nodded from the benches. Chloe lifted a file and checked the seal. Inside Department 4B, the flag hung still. The bailiff called the room to order. Elena took the chair at counsel table. Hair tied clean. Jacket buttoned once. Hands flat. Edge of fingers aligned with the legal pad's ruling. Nathan entered on the left, late by 2 breaths. Confidence arranged itself on his face, then wavered. He sat, palmed his watch, and stared at its glass. People v. Nathan Carter, the clerk read. Counts followed like pebbles dropped in water. Unauthorized use of a financial account, credit card fraud, identity misuse. Dates were recited in a steady chain that matched a public stream of posts. Chloe rose. Your Honor, counsel for Ms. Elena Carter, she said. She set a thick envelope on the lectern and sliced it open. Counsel copy, documents sealed and time-stamped. She laid out a clean sequence, receipts photographed in situ, screenshots of alerts, travel confirmations, a ledger of times and locations, storage logs, chain first, story later. Keller testified in short lines, automated flags, issuer notification, transaction fingerprinting, account linkages and device matches. He kept his voice even. The projector woke with a soft fan. On the screen, boutique invoice with serial number, airline upgrade email, hotel suite folio, the rooftop image and its timestamp. A waveform loaded, peaks and valleys like a map. Audio played. Nathan's voice, angled with pride. Used your work card, ghost card on your laptop, numbers, pics, done. Then the casual tag. Upgrade at the gate, first class. Source of recording? The judge asked. One-party consent jurisdiction, captured in the marital home, Chloe answered. Original file preserved. Hash values documented. Copies delivered under seal. Defense stood. Shared finances, Your Honor. Permission implied by course of dealing. A misunderstanding at worst. Nathan leaned into his mic and added, It made her happy too, before his lawyer tugged his sleeve. Chloe didn't raise her voice. She pointed to the invoice total, the training label on the account, and the timestamp alignment across 3 independent sources. The card in question is a corporate training instrument, she said. Not household spending. Every charge auto-reports to external authorities by design. The judge looked to Elena. Is this your corporate training card? Yes, Elena said. Was permission granted to use it for personal luxury? No. She kept her eyes level and her hands quiet. Paper rustled. A pen clicked twice. Nathan's cuff tapped the table as his grip closed and opened. Defense tried a new lane. If there was consent to record, there was coercion to speak. Chloe shook her head. Open prompts, not coercion. He volunteered specifics, then repeated them. The chain holds. The judge marked the file and spoke with the gravity of routine. Probable cause established as to each count. Travel restricted. No contact order entered. All accounts associated with the charged activity are frozen pending further hearing. Deadline for supplemental materials in 14 days. A murmur moved through the benches. On the aisle, someone raised a phone. The bailiff gestured, and the phone disappeared. Nathan turned to the rows as if to borrow a face. A cousin glanced down. 2 friends studied the carpet. Keller stood. Chloe packed the exhibits with a clean sequence. Projector off, cord coiled, envelope resealed. Elena rose when she did, closed the pen, and set the pad square. They left through the side door into a hallway bright with vending machines. A reporter stepped forward. "No comment," Chloe said, and kept walking. Elena paused to adjust a strap and take the claim ticket for the records clerk. Behind them, Nathan remained at counsel table, head bent toward his attorney. The clock above the door advanced by 1 minute. On the evidence cart, the sealed envelope sat like a weight. When the lights in Department 4B cooled, the invoices weighed more than the adjectives. The dates carried the room. The watch on Nathan's wrist counted each second without favor. They did not look back. Outside Department 4B, the hallway thinned. Nathan stepped out with his lawyer, a white envelope in one hand and a dead stare. The watch on his wrist gleamed against the stamped orders. Keller disappeared down the stairs. Chloe handed Elena a receipt, then left through the revolving door. At noon, HR emailed. "Meeting to discuss your status." The badge reader blinked red when Nathan tried the turnstile. A guard guided him to a seat beside a ficus and kept his voice gentle. 10 minutes later, a woman from security slid a clipboard across a low table. The badge dropped into a plastic bag with a soft clap. His phone buzzed. The bank app flashed. Transaction declined. Another notification followed. Hold placed pending review. A tow truck chirped outside the apartment. By the time he reached the curb, the car was halfway onto the bed, straps ratcheting, driver indifferent. Online, the rooftop post began to hollow. Comments vanished. Likes thinned. A cousin removed a tag. One friend messaged, "Bro, you okay?" The blue dot floating in a request inbox. He met the woman from the rooftop at a quiet cafe. She slid a ring of keys across the table and didn't lift her eyes. "I can't," she said, pulling her coat tight. Street cameras caught him standing there afterward, hands empty, traffic washing past. Dinner at his mother's was quiet. Forks clicked. She asked him not to speak to anyone about the case, for the family's sake. He started a defense, then let it die. The clock in the dining room kept the only conversation. In the hallway at his building, a neighbor murmured, "That's him," and pretended to check the mail. A small paper in the Free Weekly mentioned a hearing on financial misuse. The photo was him, blurred, shoulders hunched, envelopes piled under the door. Past due. Notice of lien. Administrative fee. He tore one open with a shaking thumb and ripped the edge crooked. He called Elena. Silence moved through the line until she said, "Please contact counsel," and ended the call. He stared at the screen until it went black. The suit creased on a folding chair. The watch lay on a pawnshop glass, green light humming above it. By night, his wrist was bare, his phone dead, and a sign across the street rocked in the wind, "Room for rent." Elena did not need to look back. Morning entered Elena's apartment, a bright pane across the kitchen table and the neat stack of folders squared the night before. The Room for Rent sign from Part 7 felt far away, a billboard shrinking in rear view. She opened the windows, curtains unhooked, washed light spilling in. A roller tray moved along one wall, new paint drying to a confident blue. The desk shifted to face the balcony. A framed certification clicked onto a nail. Email chimed. A fresh logo sat in the signature. Elena Security Consulting. The state registration and tax ID waited inside a clear sleeve. Heavy cardstock cards slid from a box. Embossed letters caught the sun. She walked the new routine. Calendar blocks for discovery calls. A checklist labeled Incident Response, Intake, Isolate, Investigate, Document, Mouse, PDF, e-sign, Invoice. Her hands kept a crisp rhythm. Later, a co-working lobby greeted her with coffee and conversation. The keycard beeped once. A glass door parted. On a stage, she rehearsed a slide deck that read, "From alert to action." Laser pointer, minimal gestures, voice steady, heads tilted forward. Applause followed the last slide. A client waited near the aisle, hand extended. "We'll engage your team." She traded cards, opened a calendar link, and set a kickoff for Tuesday at 10. An email with stars populated the phone screen as she stepped into the hallway. Lauren arrived with a paper sleeve around 2 coffees and a wildflower bundle from a corner market. No speeches. Just a toast with cardboard cups and a grin that matched the morning. They stood at the window and watched buses turn the corner like precise machinery. Chloe met her in the afternoon with a manila envelope. "Restitution schedule," she said. Keller followed with a brief nod. "All materials received." Elena signed where tabs indicated. Pages stacked, clip engaged. The day folded into simple rituals: groceries in a canvas bag, knives against a wooden board, steam rising from a pot. A plant on the balcony took water and lifted its leaves. Her inbox pinged. New inquiry. A bar chart on the laptop nudged upward one more notch. She closed the lid and slid the chair under the desk. Dusk gathered. The slider drew shut. Warm light filled the room. Her phone rested face up on the charger, quiet. Outside, the city kept its pace. Inside, the shape of her life held firm again tonight. Morning settled into weeks, then months, and warm light from Part 8 kept returning at the same hour. Elena's days arranged themselves like clean rows. She ran the lake path at sunrise. Keycard beeped, glass door slid. Coffee, calendar, kickoff. A subject line pinged. Contract signed. Check marks seeded the schedule. At workshops, she clipped a mic and stood easy. Slides read Incident Response 101 and From Alert to Action. Applause lifted and rolled. A trade blog posted a photo and called her a featured speaker. Weekends belonged to small rituals. "Same table?" Lauren asked, already waving at the server. Plates mapped the table in twos, then cleared. They traded dates for a hike and a movie that did not require commentary. Back home, the apartment kept getting clearer. New plants climbed stakes. Spines on the bookshelf aligned by color. A road map gained 3 pins, and a pen drew the faintest line between them. At night, music low, laptop closed at 10. Chloe's email logged restitution received, on schedule. Keller confirmed no contact maintained. A spreadsheet ticked a green box forward 1 cell at a time. Progress looked like simple math and kept its voice down. Across town, Nathan chased work that kept slipping. Applications sent. "Position filled," the replies said. A supervisor handed him a sticker name tag and pointed to the 3rd shift. The pin bent, the corner peeled. Community service landed on the calendar. A vest the color of traffic cones hung loose on his shoulders. Plastic bags snapped in the wind. Bottles rattled in a bin. At check-in, he signed a clipboard and kept his eyes on the table edge. Bank texts offered thin lines. Insufficient funds. A pump declined his card after midnight. The landlord changed a code without ceremony. A cardboard box under a metal bed caught the drips from a pipe. Online, their pages drifted apart. Elena posted a trail view with a short caption. Clients messaged for availability. Nathan's feed went still. Old victories returned fewer hearts. A few contacts quietly disappeared. Split screen, if anyone had one. Left, Elena signed and shook hands, smile small and sure. Right, Nathan waited under fluorescent light with a crumpled application and cheap earbuds. And that night, the difference settled into shape. On one balcony, a book opened and the city breathed. In another room, a washing machine droned while a cracked screen refused to wake. Night folded gently over the city from Part 9, and the balcony breeze cooled to a steady hush. Elena closed her book and set it beside the ceramic dish where a keycard rested. On the table, a tidy stack of folders stayed square to the edge. Order, not urgency. Breath, not noise. A sealed envelope from months ago sat in a drawer, a lesson already learned. The watch that once flashed in every reflection was gone. The wall clock kept time without swagger. Receipts that once shouted now lived as quiet records in a file named Done. She watered the plant, wiped the counter, and clicked the lamp to warm. The room answered with soft light. Outside, the city exhaled. A late train whispered. Somewhere else, a laundromat rolled. A plastic chair held a jacket with tired seams. A phone face stayed dark. Consequences do not announce themselves, they accrue. Responsibility, too. Elena locked the balcony door and placed her phone on the charger. No alarms, no speeches, just a life that fit in its outline. Time, impartial, moved forward. Every second weighed the same. Discipline turned seconds into space, and space into peace. He once tried to end her chapter with an upgrade and a grin. He only underlined the margin. She didn't need to beat him. She needed to choose herself, and did.